As a former federal and state prosecutor and looking at what they are looking at, the subpoena and what have you, this is blatant retribution. I mean, pure politics, because the records that they've asked for are from the civil prosecution of Donald Trump and the civil prosecution of his companies. Remember, his nonprofits were severely penalized, and they can't operate a nonprofit in New York. So they're really two cases they're looking at. The only reason the DOJ would be looking into that information is to pay retribution for what they thought was an unfair civil prosecution in this case. There's really no basis for it.
So, Chet, I want to go to your take as well. We know that for a long time, Trump himself has been calling this whole indictment against him weaponization and retribution. So now is the DOJ's move justified?
Well, with all due respect to my colleague, Scott, the idea that now the DOJ is weaponizing when Letitia James' only idea to the people in terms of running for office was that she was going to prosecute the president of the United States. And the thing that she prosecuted the president on wasn't a real federal crime. It wasn't anything that most people, it's like a speeding ticket for the most part. And so the fact that you turn this thing into a full-blown criminal investigation is the most absurd thing that I could possibly imagine.
Well, Letitia James doesn't do criminal prosecutions. She does civil prosecutions. And in this particular case, she brought civil charges for fraud, some 30-plus counts of fraud that he was convicted upon. In regard to the nonprofit case, it was for having inappropriately running nonprofits and receiving funds and using them for-profit purposes. And so I wouldn't call that a speeding ticket. I'd call that pretty serious work being done by the New York AG's office. Even if he was unfairly targeted or his company was unfairly targeted, you had an independent jury and an independent judge that looked at the evidence and found him civilly liable.
So, Scott, what do you think about the numbers? Are they reflecting the reality, or do they not align with some lived experiences?
You know, the problem with criminal statistics is that they do reflect reality, if you will. But if you're a victim of a crime, if you've been carjacked, if you've been the victim of a violent crime like rape or robbery or even murder, if you will, you don't feel safe. And the circle of friends around you don't feel safe because they know that you've been a victim of a crime. And so both can be true. Crime can be down, if you will, but when it comes to young people and criminal conduct, for example, in D.C., that number of carjackings is not down per se. I don't know the real number, but the majority of crimes are 25% or more below. And so we just got to do a better job. You're never going to have a community that doesn't have any crime, if you will. But more importantly, people have to feel safe, if you will. They have to feel like there's law enforcement. In the Cincinnati case, which is very unfortunate, and it became a melee, if you will, some reports say that racial slurs triggered this violence. And, you know, if you're going to yell the N-word in a crowd, you're probably going to get a violent response. I don't condone that, if you will, but there are no really innocent players here. I know 6 people were prosecuted, probably more who started that need to be prosecuted, but people have to feel safe. And it's an ongoing effort in whatever jurisdiction or community you're in.